Am I the a-hole for leaving a wedding reception upon arrival? So this happened last weekend. I, 36 female, was asked by my brother, 40 male, to do him a favor and go to a wedding with his recently divorced best friend, 42 male, Ted. Ted's just out of the marriage and hasn't started dating yet, but his sister was having her second wedding, and he didn't want to be the only groomsman going alone. I've known Ted for years, and he's always seemed a decent enough dude when I've bumped into him at my brother's events. Lacking plans last Saturday, being a pity date to a wedding for him seemed fine. I arrived on my own since he was in the bridal party, and the ceremony in the outdoor garden space was lovely. Upon entering the indoor reception space, Ted's name was on the seating chart at the head table. My name was not on the chart anywhere. Not as me. Not as Ted's +1. It was assigned seating, and every chair at every table had a name. I had not even spoken to Ted at this point, as he was with the bridal party before the wedding and taken off to do photos right after. One of the event staff saw me at the seating chart for way too long and asked if I needed help. I explained my issue, and she called the wedding planner. After about 20 minutes of standing awkwardly in the lobby type area, she came and informed me Ted did not have a +1 for the wedding, and they were at some kind of fire safety limit for the venue for the seated dinner, and they could not accommodate me at the event. She was polite but very firm. I wanted to die of embarrassment, apologized, and texted Ted that the wedding planner said I had to leave because of occupancy limits and my not being on the guest list. Then I hopped in my car and headed home. About a half hour later, he texted me back saying his sister was being an asshole and had invited his ex as his +1 and put her on the seating chart. There was apparently drama, and the ex left. He wanted me to come back and take her spot. It was still cocktail time, so dinner hadn't even happened yet, and he had an empty seat next to him at the head table. I was already home, changed out of my dress, makeup washed off, and looking at takeout menus. I texted him back that I wasn't comfortable returning when I'd already been kicked out, and I was already home and not in an event-appropriate state anymore anyway. He got very demanding that I return because he was embarrassed by not having a date, and I'd promised to be there for him. He got my brother in on it to also demand I come back, and he's been guilting me ever since for leaving his BFF in the lurch. This has turned into a whole Facebook thing where Ted's ex has been mocking him for his date running away, and people are blaming me for ditching him when my whole job was to be a pity date. Also that I should have stayed until I talked to Ted himself instead of texting him. I could have stayed in the parking lot until he replied, I suppose, but it didn't occur to me at the time. I also could have gone back, but really just didn't want at that point. Am I the a-hole? OP updated same day / same post. Update. To clarify a couple things, I knew I wasn't going to see Ted until after the pictures. They got ready off-site and did the arrival at the ceremony thing in classic cars. I was pre-warned pictures would be immediately after. Ted even suggested I only show up at the reception and skip the ceremony because of this, but I thought that was rude. Plus, I like weddings. That's some of what got me into this mess in the first place. This is not to defend Ted, just to explain the logistics. Drag him for what he deserves, not what was agreed to in advance. Also, the Facebook drama only started on Friday, which is what prompted my post. From the Facebook drama, my brother realized he got a warped version of the story from Ted. He reached out last night and invited me to a nice dinner, his treat, later this week. He apologized sincerely. He also asked my permission to enter the Facebook fray on my behalf. Better him than me. We're good. The rest of the tea is from my brother. Ted's sis is the one who introduced Ted to his ex. The ex cheated and was caught by the affair partner's wife, who went full nuclear, causing even oblivious Ted to realize what was going on. Unsurprisingly, they'd been having trouble before this. Sis was attempting to get them back together, as the ex never wanted the divorce. Glad I left before that scheme hit Ted in the face. Finally, there's no way Ted thought we were hooking up. When we first met, I was a freshman in high school, and he was my brother's big brother in his college fraternity. It would just be weird, even though time has passed. We've never had any vibe of that sort. He knew I was only a seat filler, and he didn't even manage to get me a seat. Relevant comments. Crag_hack. So, why didn't Ted realize all this from the beginning? Why didn't he text you about if you were there before the wedding? Seems like he should have easily realized his ex was there, and questioned his sister. "You're NTA, but your brother, Ted, and his sister sure sounds like that." OP. Ted has always been a bit oblivious to the world around him beyond what he's actively engaged in at the moment. Think the sort of guy who asks when dinner is at a barbecue when it's been being served for the last hour and he's 10 feet away from the grill and table full of ready-to-eat food. He means well and was probably too busy playing with the kids to notice. Crag under her heck. If it was important for him that you should be there, he should have made sure you were there. Anyway, biggest is the sister. Don't understand how people don't get mad at her for what she did. OP. It's very unclear to me what's up with the sister. The ex could have been invited before the divorce and nobody thought to update the list or tell her not to show. The sister and ex could have been shit-stirring together. I'm not close to this broader social circle to have any real insight. I kinda hoped they'd all be too busy doing drama with each other to remember I existed at all. Sadly, no.
Story 2. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my brother $200,000 from our parents' inheritance after he got scammed? Throwaway. I, 34 male, recently inherited $400,000 from our parents' estate after they passed away. There was a slight delay in my part in receiving the said amount because of some legal complications. My younger brother, 31 male, received the same amount, but just months after their death, he was swindled out of nearly all his life savings by a shady investment scheme. Now, he's asking me to share $200,000 of my inheritance with him to help him get back on his feet. He argues that our parents would have wanted us to have equal financial standing, and that losing his money wasn't his fault, yeah right, and that he'd pay me back all later. I feel terrible for him, but I don't think it's fair to give up half of my inheritance for a mistake he made, no matter how unfortunate. I've been working hard, budgeting, and planning to use this money for my family's future. If I give him half, it puts my own financial security at risk. My wife supports my decision, but some relatives think I'm being greedy and heartless, saying family comes first. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Wow, this blew up. I didn't think I'd need online strangers to knock sense into me. Also, it's funny how quickly someone can go from calling every hour to a direct block. I called my brother and asked him what exactly happened, and told him I'd only give him the money if he told me the truth, and only the truth. He told me he invested in a company called Aramco, obviously not the real one, to a sheik and paid his deposit of $10,000 the first time, where he got back $20,000. Then he began scaling up and always doubled, until $100K. He got back $110K, then was emboldened and invested $300K, and was guaranteed $600K, and the rest is history. He made a police report, but had no evidence to share, as he withdrew in cash and dealt in cash itself, taking only token receipts, which were fake. He kept the previously gotten amount in cash in his house. I only came to know how stupid someone can get. I told him his lack of basic common sense and greed does not constitute grounds for charity on my part, and told him to take better care of the remaining $100K. He cussed me out and told me I disappointed my parents. As for my relatives, I told them all in the group chat that I'd only match whatever they would pay to my brother, and even offered to double it since I was so greedy and I wanted to prove them wrong, thanks to a legendary commenter who suggested that, I love you. I was cussed out there too, lol. They're all blocked now. They told me the money got into my head. Sorry for not replying to the comments. I was really weakening in my resolve not to pay him, and you guys just snapped me back. Thank you. You all saved me. Relevant comments. Datura_Rose. Tell the relatives who called you greedy and heartless that you'll let your brother know that they'll be giving him money to get back on his feet. NTA, his bad decisions, his problem. OP. I just did that. Thank you so much for the idea. Special X. Did family come first? When your brother got his share months before you did? Upe? Nopi. He told me he was working on something special and was going to be very rich very soon, and buy a great vacation house where he'd invite us to stay for a week every year. Rep the 732. Not the a-hole, he fell for a well-known scam. He could have scammed the scammer too, but he got greedy. Sounds like he made a bunch of money along the way though. What happened to the tens of thousands he actually got back? OP. I actually never asked. I don't care anymore. He can do whatever he likes. He wouldn't be getting any help from me. Swimming program 6530. NTA. Your parents did put you in equal financial standing. Update, he called again. So, after blocking my brother and pesky relatives and thinking the drama was over, he found another way to get to me. He called through my wife. Turns out, things are even worse than he originally told me. That $100,000 he had left, it's all going toward paying off loans and a car he financed, so he's basically left with nothing. He finally admitted how desperate he is, apologized for not being fully honest earlier, and being a douche and cussing me out. He said he realizes he messed up big time. Greed got the better of him, and now he's asking for $50,000 instead of the $200,000, promising to pay me back eventually. He even said he'd appreciate whatever help I could offer if I couldn't give the full amount. Yes, I asked him about the previous increments he received. Turns out he actually invested $350,000. The desperation in his voice was palpable. But honestly, I'm done with him. He wasn't always this reckless or stupid. Maybe I was wrong. But the guy I'm dealing with now is a complete mess, thanks to you all who made me see that. His greed and lack of financial knowledge are his own doing, and I'm not about to bail him out. Lastly, thank you to all of you who took time to help me realize the massive blunder I was about to commit. You guys saved my finances and quite possibly my life. I'm grateful to all of you. Relevant comments. Weary_dragonfly_8891. Wow. Why am I feeling you're still not getting the truth from this guy? This has major gambling debt vibes to me.